Okay, let's unpack this. Have you ever found yourself working with a leader who is just undeniably brilliant, always seems to have the perfect answer,
Yeah,
but somehow their team just isn't, well, they're not truly hitting its stride?
definitely. It's a strange situation.
It's a fascinating paradox, isn't it? We're talking about those leaders who are, technically superior, incredibly competent, deep knowledge,
Right.
but they struggle to fully unlock their team's potential. This week, we're diving into a really powerful article from Phoenix Performance Partners. It's titled Progress Over Perfection, Leading for Growth. And it suggests this whole issue often stems from what they call an unconscious addiction to being right.
Right. Rather than being effective. That's the key difference.
Exactly. So our mission for this deep dive is to explore why this perfectionist approach can actually be so detrimental, for team dynamics, for performance. And more importantly, we're going to uncover some incredibly practical strategies, ways leaders can shift away from that rigid pursuit of perfection and move towards celebrating progress, fostering a culture where people can genuinely grow and innovate.
And what's truly fascinating here, what the article really digs into, is how it challenges a belief that's, well, it's deeply ingrained for many of us, that being right is always the absolute path to success. We'll be looking closely at the difference, and it's a crucial one, between having really high standards, which is good, and falling into that trap of destructive perfectionism.
Hmm.
You're going to learn why cultivating a growth mindset, one that recognizes effort, learning, development, is far more powerful, more sustainable than just fixating on perfect, flawless outcomes. And ultimately, this brings up a really important question for any leader listening right now. What kind of environment are you, maybe inadvertently, creating for your team?
That really is a critical question. It sets the stage perfectly, I think, because so many leaders are rightly praised for their competence, their accuracy.
Sure, they've earned it.
They've mastered their craft, they know the answers, they deliver correct solutions. But like the article points out so well, just mastering a craft or always having the right answer doesn't automatically make you an effective leader
No, it doesn't.
or guarantee a thriving, innovative team. It leads us right to that central, almost existential question the article poses. Would I rather be right or would I rather be effective?
Hmm.
Sounds simple, maybe, but it's a huge internal battle for a lot of leaders.
It really gets to the core, doesn't it? Because for so many people, being right feels the same as being good or competent. The article introduces us to this figure, Caroline, an HR executive. Her meticulous attention to detail, exhaustive research.
Yeah.
It got her promoted quickly.
Right, her thoroughness was legendary.
Exactly. Every decision backed by airtight evidence, every recommendation was, well, in her eyes, bulletproof. For Caroline, there was always one right answer, and she made damn sure she had it. But here's where it gets really interesting and honestly a little sad. The article reveals that this relentless drive for perfection, it wasn't just about high standards. It was actually rooted in fear, a deep-seated fear. Not exactly fear of failure, but fear of being seen as incompetent, fear of being found out as less than perfect.
Wow.
And this fear, paradoxically, it transformed her strength, her meticulousness, into, well, the article calls it a weapon.
A weapon? How so?
She became dismissive,
Ah,
condescending, often intolerant of anyone who didn't meet her impossibly high standards or whose work had, perceived flaws.
ouch.
Yeah. And the impact on her team, it was pretty devastating. They felt disempowered, diminished, frankly, quite intimidated. So this led to widespread disengagement. Innovation just stopped, ground to a halt.
Because who would risk it?
Exactly. People stopped taking risks, stopped offering new ideas, because they knew they'd just get picked apart. So even though Caroline probably had a good heart, wanted to help, wanted success, her perfectionist default was creating the exact opposite effect.
Her team was shrinking, not growing, under this brilliant but ultimately paralyzing leadership. It's such a powerful illustration, and relatable, I think, for many. Her wake-up call, as the article describes it, came through 360-degree feedback.
The dreaded 360.
Right, specifically from this tool, the Conscious Leader Survey. Peers described her as, and I appreciate the delicate phrasing here, technically brilliant but emotionally challenging to work with.
It'd sting, especially for her.
You can imagine, for someone priding herself on being right and competent, absolutely devastating. But that moment, that raw vulnerability, it actually became her breakthrough.
An opportunity.
An unexpected opportunity for real transformation. It forced her to confront the actual impact of her brilliance. So, okay, After that kind of feedback hits you, how does a leader like Caroline, or, how do you, listening, begin to make that shift? The article highlights this fundamental pivot in perspective, something that changed absolutely everything for her. She stopped asking, "Am I right?"
Okay.
And instead, she started asking a profoundly different question. Will this produce the results I'm after?
Ah, subtle but huge.
It seems like such a small tweak in your internal dialogue, right? But the impact on her leadership and her team was apparently monumental.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, that subtle shift, that internal change, it unlocked something really profound for Caroline. And it's a lesson for all of us, I think. She finally realized, okay, I can be right 100 times out of 100. Every detail, every fact, every solution.
Mm-hmm.
But I could still be completely ineffective if my team isn't actually producing results. Tangible, positive results.
Her perfectionism was getting in the way of the outcome she wanted.
Exactly. It's that classic ironic paradox. Her greatest perceived strength was becoming her biggest professional roadblock. The real breakthrough for her was internal. She learned to leverage those high standards differently, expect excellence from herself, channel that drive toward her own growth as a leader.
Instead of using it on others.
Right. Instead of using those standards like a rigid measuring stick to judge and diminish other people when they inevitably fell short of impossible perfection, it shifted from an external critical lens to an internal empowering one.
That reframing is absolutely critical. And it leads us right into how leaders can start building a progress-focused culture. The article really emphasizes that when leaders genuinely celebrate progress, not just perfection, they create what's known as psychological safety.
Super important concept.
It's so crucial for innovation, for learning, for sustainable growth. And it connects directly to Dr. Amy Edmondson's work, right?
Absolutely. Her 1999 study of work teams is foundational here,
That's the one. She found psychological safety was strongly linked to what she called learning behavior.
which is basically the willingness to admit mistakes, ask for help, offer new ideas
Mm-hmm.
without fear of being punished or embarrassed.
And that learning behavior directly led to significantly better team performance. Can you maybe break down what that really means practically for a leader?
Yeah, definitely. Psychological safety isn't about like being nice all the time or
Mm.
lowering sin. Not at all.
Right.
It's about creating an environment where people feel safe enough to take what Edmondson calls interpersonal risks. Meaning, your team members feel confident they won't be humiliated or shut down for admitting an error, asking a supposedly dumb question, or even proposing a half-baked idea that might actually spark something brilliant. When a leader creates this, they're effectively saying, look, we're all learning here. I value your effort, your insights, even if they're not perfect yet.
And without that safety,
People just hold back. It's natural. And that's the absolute death knell for real innovation and problem solving. It's about giving permission to be human, to be in process. What's also really fascinating is the science behind how we recognize things, how we give praise.
yeah, Dweck's work.
Exactly. Carol Dweck's research on fixed versus growth mindsets, it clearly shows that process praise, focusing on the effort, the strategies used, the learning journey, leads to much better outcomes than person praise.
Which focuses on just innate ability, like you're so smart.
Right. Think about that famous Mueller and Dweck study from '98 with fifth graders. The kids praised for intelligence after success. They actually became more likely to develop a fixed mindset
Really?
because they tied their success to something innate, something fixed. So they became afraid to fail, afraid to look not smart. It actually impaired their performance when things got tougher.
Wow. So how does that translate to leadership feedback?
Well, instead of a leader saying something like, this isn't quite right yet, you missed these points, let me show you the correct way, which can feel like a judgment.
Hmm.
The article suggests a totally different approach, something more like, okay, I can see you're really applying that new framework we talked about. That's great to see.
Mm-hmm.
What did you learn from doing it this way? Knowing what you know now, what might you adjust next time?
So it's about the learning, not just the mistake.
Precisely. It acknowledges the effort, it validates the learning process itself, and crucially, it empowers them to think critically about their own development. It turns potential criticism into a real coaching moment.
I love that concrete example. It really shows the difference. And building on that, the article's second strategy is about making growth visible.
Right, actively highlighting it.
Yeah, intentionally creating recognition systems or just moments that spotlight progress, not just the perfect finished product. So instead of only praising the flawless project, look for and celebrate things like skill development over time.
Yeah, like noticing improvement.
Exactly. You might say, Sarah, I've noticed you've been working really hard on your presentation skills, and your confidence and clarity have just visibly grown these past few months. Or maybe acknowledging how someone's thinking has evolved. Marcus, the way you approach that client challenge really shows you're integrating the strategic thinking we've been developing as a team.
That's powerful feedback.
And it's also about recognizing the courage it takes to stretch, to step outside that comfort zone, like saying, hey, Tom, I wanted to acknowledge you for taking on that really difficult client conversation. You navigated it with such grace. That took real courage, and it clearly pushed you.
Those kinds of examples normalize the journey, right?
Yeah.
They celebrate the steps along the way, not just crossing the finish line.
Totally. Which leads to the third strategy,
Right.
reframing mistakes.
Yes. This raises a big question for every leader. How do you react when things don't go to plan? When there's a setback? When someone makes what looks like a mistake, the article strongly advises resisting that urge to immediately jump in, correct, critique.
Just as hard sometimes.
It really is. Instead, it suggests transforming those moments into learning laboratories
Learning laboratories. I like that.
by asking really good, open-ended questions like, okay, what insights did this experience give you? Or if you were coaching someone else through this exact situation, what advice would you offer them?
Putting them in the coach's seat. Clever.
Yeah. And critically, what would you choose to do differently next time, and why would you make that adjustment? See how that shifts the focus. It's not about blame. It's all about fostering future action, deep learning, resilience, analytical skills, not just getting compliance.
Okay, this is all great in theory. Let's unpack it further. How do you actually put these really powerful ideas into practice day to day? Because knowing is one thing, doing is another. The article gives some fantastic, really actionable steps, doesn't it?
It does. It provides several key, very practical strategies to bring this whole progress-focused culture to life, moving from just intending it to actually doing it. First, they recommend implementing weekly progress check-ins.
Okay.
And the idea here is to consciously shift the focus of those check-ins. So it's not just reviewing what got done, ticking off tasks. You intentionally carve out time each week to specifically recognize the skills people are actively developing, the challenges they're navigating, new approaches they're trying out, improvements in things like collaboration or communication.
It's valuing the process of growth.
Exactly. Observing it, talking about it. The check-in becomes less about what got done and more about how are you developing.
Makes sense. What's next?
Second, process-focused feedback. We touched on this, but it's about being really intentional. When you review work or give guidance, make sure you balance assessing the outcome with explicitly recognizing the process used.
Gotcha. Give me an example.
Sure. So instead of just saying, great report, you might say, yeah, your research methodology for this report has become much more systematic and thorough. I can see the difference, and it really strengthened your conclusions.
Ah, I see. Highlighting the how.
Right. Or I can see how you're thinking through stakeholder perspectives much more comprehensively now in your proposals. Or even your ability to facilitate those difficult conversations in our team meetings has really grown, and that's making a huge difference for everyone. It highlights how they're growing, how they're learning, not just what they produced in the end.
Okay, that's clear. And the third.
Third is growth story sharing. This is super effective for normalizing the whole journey, the ups and downs. Regularly share stories, maybe from your team, maybe other departments, maybe even your own past about people who grew significantly by working through challenges, or even through things that look like failures at the time.
So it shows struggle leads to strength.
Exactly. It makes it safe for others to try, to stumble, to learn. It normalizes iteration.
And the last one. This feels like the big one.
It really is. We connect this back to the bigger picture of leadership. The most powerful way to embed this culture, it's to model it yourself.
Lead by example.
Absolutely. You have to openly share your own learning journey. Talk about what you're working on improving. Be transparent about mistakes you've made and the lessons you learned, maybe the hard way.
Vulnerability.
Yes. Share how specific feedback, even critical feedback, helped you grow. Talk about times when maybe good enough now was actually way more effective than waiting forever for perfect later.
Yeah.
That kind of vulnerability from a leader. It creates this invaluable permission structure. It empowers everyone else to embrace their own growth edges, to feel genuinely safe, learning and stretching. It just destigmatizes imperfection and celebrates that continuous evolution.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you, the leader listening right now? I think this deep dive really reminds us that transformational leadership, It requires real courage. The courage to consciously choose being effective over that ego-driven need to always be perfectly right. It means accepting that imperfection is just part of growth, and it means genuinely, passionately celebrating the team member who's maybe 70% of the way there, but is actively improving.
Instead of only recognizing 100% perfection.
Exactly. Because growth, by its very nature, it's messy, isn't it? It's iterative. It's a dynamic journey, never just a static destination.
Well said. So this week, here's a challenge for you listening. Intentionally look for at least 3 distinct instances of progress to celebrate in your team. And I mean progress, not just finished projects or flawless performance. Look for genuine, observable evidence of growth, of learning, of development in action.
Well, steps, big leaps.
Anything that shows movement.
Okay.
And then notice how your specific, sincere recognition of their journey, their effort, their strategies, their courage to try something new. Notice how it affects not just their motivation, but maybe their willingness to take on bigger challenges, to stretch, to innovate. You might be genuinely surprised by the ripple effect it creates.
And remember this final thought. You absolutely can maintain incredibly high standards and celebrate progress at the same time. They aren't mutually exclusive.
Not at all, in fact.
The leaders who master doing both. They're consistently the ones who unlock the highest levels of performance, engagement, and innovation in their people. So the fundamental question isn't whether to have standards. Of course you have standards. It's whether those standards serve to inspire growth or if they inadvertently paralyze it. When we make that conscious choice day by day to celebrate progress over the elusive chase for perfection, we don't just create a nicer place to work, we create the essential conditions for both excellence and groundbreaking innovation to truly flourish. We really hope this deep dive has given you some powerful new insights to consider and maybe experiment with in your own leadership journey.